Hello, guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. A lovely girl is shown at the start named Greta Evans. She has come to the UK because she has got the job of a granny. She has got a job as a caretaker and this was a rich family. Greta enters the house and takes off her shoes outside. Because the whole house was completely carpeted, Greta meets a boy while exploring the house. And his job was to supply weekly as this supplier was charming and funny. Then she meets the head of the house and his wife and they tell her she has to take care of their son. The shocking thing was when they make Greta meet their son, and whom they were calling their son was just a doll. They were behaving with the doll like it is a living thing. Greta ignores them and she was taking all this as fun. Later, she realizes that this was reality and the head and his wife were serious about their son. Then something strange happens, her shoes disappear which she removed outside the house. The head's wife says this must be done by our son. That night, the couple tells Greta that their son liked her. You are the first caretaker whom our son liked. And the head tells Greta he has to go out of the house for his job. After him, Greta will handle the responsibility of the house. Before leaving, the head tells the rules of the house to Greta. Those were strange rules and she has to follow them. And the first rule was Greta has to awake their son in a loud voice. Then she has to change the clothes of the head's son. And the second rule was that Greta has to tell their son a story in the loud voice. Because their son likes all this, and he tells the last rule that Greta has to play the songs in loud voice. The left food will not be wasted, so store it in the freezer. And you have to fix the rat trap outside the house daily, so the rats will not enter the house. The head leaves with his wife after telling these rules to Greta. She becomes relaxed and doesn't take it seriously and even don't follow any rules. Greta was alone at home and starts talking to her sister while calling her on the landline. She tells her about her old friend and was telling her that her friend asks about her even today. Greta's friend was an evil man. Greta likes him but he hits her. Greta has come here for a job because of this. Greta was enjoying herself in the house calmly and then realizes that the doll is changing its place. Greta talks to the supplier in the next scene and he tells the son of the head who died 20 years ago in the fire. Since then, this family considers this doll their son. Here, their bonding was getting strong. The supplier invites her for a date and Greta takes out her favorite dress for a date. She goes for a shower and a strange shadow is seen here, and it steals the dress and jewelry of Greta. Greta returns after taking shower but doesn't find her dress and jewelry. She becomes worried and feels that maybe there is someone except for her in this house. Greta sees a strange room and when she goes inside someone shuts the door. The supplier who has come outside the house for picking up Greta rings the bell repeatedly. He calls Greta but how she can come, she was trapped in that room. She shouts but her voice wasn't reaching the supplier. But Greta wasn't answering even though he was ringing the bell. And the supplier waits for so long. Then he leaves. Greta is shown who sees a strange shadow in the room. Greta's foot slips when she sees it, and she gets faint due to falling down. After some time the morning appears. In the morning the room's door opens and Greta comes downstairs through the stairs. After coming out of the room she calls the supplier and tells him the incidents happened to her at night. She says that she hears strange voices from the walls of this house. Hearing all this, her friend says, sit down, let me tell you one thing. He tells the people says their son who died being burnt was weird. Once the head of the house told me being drunk that his son is odd. Hearing this, Greta thinks maybe there is their son's soul in this doll. And the next day, Greta sees her shoes outside her room in a sequence. She sees the doll was sitting on the bed itself, and there was that paper on which the rules were written. The head has written the rules of the house on it which Greta has to follow them. Greta becomes frightened that she locks herself in a room. She has locked herself in the room and then the phone in her room suddenly rings. She picks the phone and there was that doll's voice and it whispers, come let's play with me. It was calling Greta to play with it and was saying now it will behave nicely. Then she sees outside her room that someone has placed a sandwich outside. She understood there's his son's soul in the doll and now she was taking care of it. On another side, the head is shown with his wife. They were on vacation and ended up drowning in a river. They have left a letter for their son and one for Greta as well before dying. They have written strange things in it like now Greta is yours. The supplier is shown bringing the letters to Greta the next day written by the head and his wife. She ignores all this and was scared that she doesn't even want to go out of this house. She tells her friend that the doll often changes its place. And it does this when none was watching it and was thinking the soul of their son is shy. It doesn't want to appear in front of anyone. That's why it changes its place in the absence of the people. It uses to knock at the walls to communicate. Greta says to the supplier who was her friend that comes, let me show you a small proof. She places the doll in the room and shuts the door. And the doll has changed its place when she opens the door after some time. Her friend becomes shocked to see this and says, listen to me, there may be an evil spirit in it. The boy says, Greta, let me tell you a story of their son. 20 years ago, a girl uses to play with their son. She was his friend. The girl disappeared on the 7th birthday of their son. and the police said they find her dead body in a forest. Her skull was badly crushed, and before the police investigates their son, their house was set on fire. Their son died in that fire. Greta also tells him her past story and says, my friend whom I liked, he used to beat me. That's why I come here, because of being annoyed by all this for a job. Then Greta's friend is shown arriving here as he has taken her address from her family member. He comes here to take Greta and also book the tickets for the next day for themselves. He is the boy who has come here to take Greta, about whom she told that he used to beat her. He used to behave rudely with her. But now he comes here to take her, and Greta asks the doll for help. Help me, I don't want to go with him. That night when everyone was sleeping, the blood of dead rats is shown falling on his face, and someone has written "Get out" with the blood on his window. The boy sees this and was feeling like Greta has done all this, and then warns her to break the doll that was placed there. He says, look Greta, if you will not move with me, I will break this doll. Meanwhile, the supplier also arrives and forbids the boy to break the doll. The boy was in anger and then hits the doll with the table. He breaks the doll, and as it breaks, there were voices around the house. Suddenly, the mirror of the house breaks and he becomes injured due to it. The boy who came to bring Greta, a human, is shown appearing from the space of the mirror. There was a mask on his face, and this human ends the boy while attacking him. Here it discovers the human was none other than the son of that house's head. His name was Brahms. And it reveals that the house's head has been hiding his son for 20 years. This boy has murdered his friend 20 years ago. So, his parents have hidden him to escape from the police. They show in front of everyone that their son is dead, but there wasn't anything like this. Their son was alive and was in this house, and Greta was feeling everything because of him. The head's son Brahms was still alive and doing all this, and Greta was considering the doll behind this. After the ending, Greta's friend Brahms was behind the supplier and Greta. They were trying to hide from him and locked themselves in a room. The walls of the house were sealed, and they find out the way to go out of the house. They find a secret room that was inside the walls, and this was Brahms's room. Yes, he was living here for years. He has made a doll here, and Brahms has stolen Greta's clothes. He stole her clothes and wears them on his doll. Greta finds the last letter of the house head and gets shocked to read the letter. They left Greta in the house for this, and during this Brahms comes behind them. He beats Greta's friend brutally, and Greta has found the exit way of the house, and she somehow moves out of the house. Brahms says while running, listen Greta, if you will not come back, I will end your friend the way I have ended everyone in the house. Greta runs from the house, but then she realizes she has to save her friend. After some time, she returns and says, look, Brahms, I come back just because of you. She has placed a screwdriver in her back pocket and says to Brahms, look, you have to sleep according to the rules. Brahms obeys her and goes to sleep and asks for a goodnight kiss from her before sleeping. Before he comes closer to her, Greta attacks him with a screwdriver, and there was a fight between them, and she makes Brahms injured. She moves far from the house while taking her friend in the car. Brahms is shown in the last scene of the movie. He was still alive and was joining his doll. Now I will explain the boy part 2. A couple is shown at the start, and they have a son named Jude, and his father used to stay out of the house because of his job. One day, Jude and his mother were alone at the house. There was a robbery, and during this, Jude's mother becomes injured. Jude and his mother got scared after this incident. Jude became frightened after this robbery and even stopped talking to his parents. He was mute, and 5 months have passed and still mute even after 5 months. Jude's mother also gets scared at night after that incident. His father becomes worried to see his family. Now he decides he will take his family to a peaceful place. He rents a house and then shifts there with his family. And there they see that huge house we saw at the start of the movie. The house of the rich family, and their son used to live in the walls. Jude finds a buried doll outside this huge house. It was the same doll as the previous movie, and he shows this to his parents. They take that doll to the house and his mother cleans it. While cleaning the doll, Jude's mother finds a note from her clothes. It was the note on which there were the rules written, which have to be followed for the doll. Jude was spending time with this doll, and surprisingly, Jude named the doll Brahms. Jude talks to his parents while writing and tells his parents the doll has selected its name itself. A man is shown who is the guard of this area, and he has a dog as well. Jude tells his parents through writing that his doll doesn't like that man's dog. He says that the doll talks to him. Now he was living with the doll, and one night he was talking with the doll. Jude's parents become happy to see that their son is talking. The next day, Jude writes some rules and gives them to his parents and tells them the doll has made them. There was a rule that Jude will live with this doll forever, and his parents were thinking that Jude is doing all this. They don't say anything to him because they were seeing him happy with all this. The surprising thing was the same day Jude's mother finds a doll, and it was torn. When she asks him, he tells her the doll has done this because it doesn't like it. That's why it has ruined it. His mother was thinking Jude is lying, and now she punishes him while locking him into a room. The face of the doll is shown turned, and its eyes were also moving in the next scene. This doll was changing its place. Jude's mother was getting suspicious about it, but she ignores all this because of her son. The man who was guarding this town is shown in the next scene. He says that his dog has disappeared and was telling this to Jude. And we discover the man knows something about this doll that he was hiding from everyone. Jude's mother checks the doll and then some strange things emit from its mouth. She gets scared and shouts. Jude's father comes here while hearing this, but everything was normal, and seems his wife has again seen nightmares. The next day, Jude's mother becomes disturbed while seeing his drawings. Jude has made the drawings to end that man's dog and ends his parents with a gun and weird things. Jude says if someone will try to separate me from Brahms, it will end that person. His behavior was changed and used to dress up like that doll. He makes his parents understand the Brahms rules. There was a rule that the guests are not allowed. One day, his father says guests are coming to our home. But Jude says my friend Brahms is getting enraged and it doesn't want any guests to come here. On it, his mother punishes him to remain sitting at the dinner table. Suddenly, the dining table tilts and his mother thinks this is done by Jude. His father comes and sees all this and says this is not done by this younger Jude alone. He suspects his wife did it because she used to be mentally disturbed. On another side, that man's dog is shown dead in the forest because of the act done by Jude in the dining hall. His mother locks him in a room. Jude moves out from there with the doll and moves to the house that was Brahms's house where he lived. Jude's mother was searching for her and reaches that huge house. Jude's mother was feeling strange and sees Jude, who was wearing a mask. He has that doll and his father also arrives. The man who was the guard tells the story of Brahms to Jude's parents. He was telling the story which we saw in part 1 of the movie. The man tells Brahms has gone mad and that he has ended himself along with 2 people. Jude's father becomes surprised hearing this story, because Jude has named the doll Brahms. Now he was in the thoughts that my son has named the doll Brahms and he has become fine suddenly. He is talking to us, and the next day, the guests of Jude's father come to their home. Jude was sitting while dressed up as the doll. There was a couple and 2 siblings among the guests. The kids of the guests were playing with Jude and one of them says, "Your doll is mental. We think you are also mental," and the doll was hearing all this. Suddenly, the kid falls on a rod. The sharp rod stabs his chest, and Jude's father takes the boy to the hospital with his friend. Jude and his mother were at home. His mother left the doll outside and then searches the history of the doll on the net. During the search, she discovers there have been many incidents in this house. Jude's mother gets scared reading all this. Then she realizes that her son is not at home, and the doll was also not at home. They both disappeared. Then the man comes. He says, "Brahms asked me to bury this doll, so Jude will easily find out this doll." Brahms's soul finds out the innocent, and now they will live together forever. Here we discover the soul of this man was also under Brahms's control. He was stopping her way while trapping Jude's mother, so she will not go to save her son. Jude's mother cleverly attacks the man with his gun, and then moves inside the house with his gun. Jude's father meets a man and tells him about Brahms's victims. Here Jude's father discovers that the man is also with Brahms. Hearing this, he hurriedly runs towards his house. Jude's mother reaches Brahms's house and sees her son there. He again has worn the mask. There was the doll in his hand, and his mother says to her son, "Look, son, listen to me. I am your mother." But Jude takes the gun from his mother's hand. He starts shooting at his mother, but his father arrives, and before he could do something, his father breaks the doll while hitting a rod. After this, Jude comes to his senses and comes to his parents immediately. Now the family was together. The man arrives and the doll is shown joining again. Now the doll has the black evil face, and the doll flies the man in the air with its power. Then it ends him while setting him on fire. Before the doll could say anything to his parents, and Jude again sees the doll in a lovely way. He picks it but then throws it to the fire nearby. Due to it, the evil powers of the doll were ended. Now Jude and his parents return to their hometown. They are shown happy, and everything was normal, but their son Jude talks to Brahms while wearing a mask. Here we discover that maybe Brahms's soul is still in the world. The soul has controlled Jude through its powers, or maybe the soul is still inside Jude. Here this movie ends.